Hello, fellow Rosarians. Thank you so much for joining me today. We have a really exciting speaker today, and this is Spenser Thomas. And I've been working with him for the past year with Great Big Roses, nephew and son of the owners, and also the product and marketing manager. As you're researching this product on their homepage, they have huge companies that are using this product. Let's talk to Spenser and have him tell us all about the product. Welcome. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to speak to you and the Rosarians. It's been excellent working with you so far in the previous videos and all of our testing that we're trying to get done with the product. So I'm looking forward to telling everybody about what we can help them achieve with our products in their garden.
Let's talk first. I know you've got a couple that I'm going to be trying this year, but let's talk first about my favorite that I'm familiar with, which is Great Big Roses. Exactly. So
our favorite.
Yes. So tell us, what makes this product so awesome? You know, why is it that if I'm just using my normal fertilizer alone, the rose tone or the fish fertilizer, because I really want to be organic, why does this help to boost what's going on?
So the short answer of it is going to be our proprietary microbial blend. We have had it tested many times and have over 600 individual species of beneficial soil microbes who really are what do the work in your soil. Once those microbes are in there, they help fix all the nutrients, make them available for your plant to uptake. And also even in this product, we have 1.5% humic acid, which both changes the physical and chemical structure of your soil, just as an all-around synergistic approach to doing this. On top of the fact that, unlike traditional compost, there's really no smell. You don't have to lug around. Yeah, you don't have to lug around the heavy bags or anything. The only thing you're going to be missing from using regular compost to our liquid compost is the physical strata that would add to your potting mix. A lot of people talk about soil health and they use the terms, soil, super soil, compost, dirt.
Okay.
You can't really grow things in just dirt, and dirt or soil without microbes is dirt. Microbes are really what makes it go forward. That's where the nutrients come from. The plants aren't explicitly evolved to rip these nutrients out. They don't really have, aside from maybe legumes, natural forces that can help them break down these nutrients that would otherwise be locked. So that's the difference between soil and dirt, is that soil has a thriving microbe ecology, is what I would say.
Well, and when I think about the plant's ability to be able to uptake those nutrients that are in the soil, my mind starts thinking about, when I was in school and they were showing me genetic or the structures and the helixes and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Can they not uptake the nutrients because of the shape or something along those lines? Why is it that they're not able to uptake the nutrients without having the microbes?
That's an excellent question. So many gardeners will be familiar with the term nitrogen fixation. And that is when there's abundance of nitrogen within the soil, but it is in a different compound or state than what the plant needs to uptake. And that's where the microbes come in, because then the microbes come and they consume or interact with these different sort of compounds and fix them into the type that's usable for the plant. Because the better that the plant does, the more likely those microbes are to survive as well. So it's once again a very symbiotic relationship, and also why mycorrhizae fungi are so important as well. And you could almost call it like the internet of your garden. It kind of forms a web throughout your soil zone, through your rhizosphere, and can tell what one plant is deficient in, and it can communicate it across that web and then start sending those nutrients from another part of the soil to that plant, almost as sort of a tag team, messenger service. Like, hey, this one's low on magnesium. If anybody's got magnesium, let's filter it over here.
And I've just started a Master Gardener program. And so
Oh,
I'm learning
fantastic.
about the Rhizosphere. And
Hmm.
so the Rhizosphere, for everybody watching, would be the area that's right around the plant and the root zone. Is that right?
Yes,
The
correct.
Rhizosphere.
It's gonna be your operational zone for your roots, where all the magic is happening, for lack of a better term.
Very cool. I noticed when I used it, I was watching it for like the first week. It was really that second week that it kicked in, that the growth really took off.
I would say that 2 weeks is a pretty good standard to wait to see any results, because it's an organic product. We're not adding anything that's going to be forcing your plant to do any sort of performance. We're really just optimizing it. And it also comes down to the existing composition of your soil, both nutritionally and what the physical structure is. Some soils are going to need a little bit longer to bounce back and get their ecology good. Some soils have almost everything they need, and then ours just kickstarts it. Because, as I believe you said in one of your videos, what if I didn't know that I wasn't giving them
Right,
everything they needed? So for some
right.
people, that one addition is going to make them skyrocket, and for others, it might take a little bit of time to establish the ecology, especially in clay-laden soils. But with regular applications, I would say, again, I hesitate to put a time on it, but don't expect it in a week.
I think a lot of rosarians out there are just assuming that there are certain things that you just have to deal with. Either it's variety specific to the roses, it's not a good bloomer,
Right.
you've had it, or maybe it's an old antique rose and it just doesn't have basal breaks. And so I would say, what do you have to lose? Try it. And my hope for this year is that I'm going to be able to help black spot. As everybody knows, I'm in a really humid environment.
Yes.
And when we think about the health of a rose, you want to improve the soil to help the rose. And so my hope is that I'm actually treating the soil and making sure that the rose is getting what it needs. And I've had surveys done where I'm testing the soil and they say, hey, everything's great. But my rose still doesn't look great. It doesn't look like what I'm seeing in the catalog sometimes. And so that's my hope for this year, is that I'm going to be able to use great big roses and have great success. So here's a question for you. Because I was so tickled last year with success that I was having, I actually came back to you and said, that's it. It's 100% great big roses, and I'm not even going to use any other product. And some of my friends have actually done that. They've totally gotten rid of all of their normal fertilizer, whether it's rose tone or,
right,
or whatever. So what is the ramification from your perspective of doing that?
So the only risk that you would run, if you could even call it a risk at that point, would be that whatever potting medium that you have it in, your potting soil, whatever you've mixed yourself, that's probably going to have a limited amount of nutrients, a finite amount of nutrients is what I should say.
Right.
So at that point, using great big roses is going to continue to get you everything you can out of that soil. But if you were to keep them, say in in a pot or anything else, you're going to want to apply something that has a slightly more significant level of NPK, which for many of your viewers know is nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus or potash. Topping off the soil with something that's got a little more NPK, just because it is going to need that. And environmental factors are something that we can't always control. So heavy rain, things like that, it might leach out as far as your base nutrients. So our darn good fertilizer is a great choice. That's an NPK of 655.
And I just used that in a video that I did with the planters on the pier. And
That's
I
right.
really wanted to use that because I'm using potting soil that doesn't have any nutrients in it at all. And I think that it's different. If you have plants in the ground, they are going to be able to uptake some of the nutrients that are naturally in the soil. But when it comes to planters, there's nothing in there. And so
Exactly.
I think that that's a great product. I know a lot of times I get comments from people that they think that the Great Big Roses is pricey. And I've priced it out per rose, what it's going to cost. I'll put that up here so everybody can see. So let's say, hypothetically, we want to think about those people. And what I appreciate when you and I first started talking last year was when I said to you, let's say I don't want to use 4 ounces in a gallon. Can I still be successful? And what I really appreciated is you said, yeah, absolutely. You're going to, any little bit's going to help. Let's say hypothetically, somebody just had a soil test done and their soil test says, ideal soil, you don't need to add anything. And if they want to save money for a month or 2, would you agree that maybe that's okay to, if they just had a soil test, they know it's great, to use the Great Big Roses without adding another product?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. If you get a soil test and your results come back as ideal and, perfect for growing, then you really shouldn't have to add any other sort of fertilizer at all. What adding Great Big Plants would then do is just, again, help facilitate the uptake for that sort of thing. And with the humic acid, help the physical structure of the soil, because what soil tests generally do is test the nutrient availabilities and levels without doing much for the structure of aggregates specifically, not the loam percentage or the silt percentage.
Right.
That can be done at home. The nutrient percentage is typically what they're looking at. So if it's perfect, add a little bit as you see fit.
Yeah.
And, some is better than nothing. It's not going to hurt your plants.
That's right. And I think you did. I'm not sure if I read it on your site or you and I talked about it, that if somebody said, I want to use more than the 4 ounces per gallon, I think you said, sure, go ahead. You're not going to hurt anything. It's just that you are being a little heavy handed and it's not necessary.
Yeah. More than 4 ounces is probably going to be a little bit of overkill. Unless maybe you've just got a plant that's on its last leg that you're desperate to save and you just want to give it every last chance.
Yeah.
Maybe give it 6 ounces. But again, this is 4 ounces into a gallon of water that will create a full gallon of our usable product. And you only apply about a pint or so to your established plants and that sort of thing. And make sure, even for your younger plants, that you're pouring it and it's soaking down deep into the root zone, as opposed to just kind of top around the sides, because you want your roots to search down for your nutrients instead of just being surface level and getting that shallow water nutrient.
If you're using the Great Big Roses by itself, it would be 4 ounces per gallon. In the event that I'm using it with another product, meaning I'm going to sprinkle down my rose tone and then come back with my pint of mixture or my fish fertilizer and the Great Big Roses, you can half that then, right? You can do the 2 ounces per gallon of Great Big Roses and make sure you're using half of whatever the recommended. And so if it is a granular rose tone, it would be, I want to say it's a half a cup per rose. Do you agree with that?
Right. So typically what I've advocated in the past is, our product and our microbes do absolutely increase the efficacy of your other fertilizer schedules, and we're compatible with all other fertilizers. Because of that, you want to lower your fertilizer use by usually around half, like you've said, because otherwise, number one, you're just kind of wasting at that point because you don't need to. And 2, you want to avoid anything that could be chemicalized that our product then helps shoot into there, because that's that's where you might get some sort of plant distress, is if it just shoots it in there quickly. I would say we typically recommend still using the same rate of our compost, so at the 4 ounces, and then having the fertilizer. However, again, it depends on your soil, and you're not going to hurt your plants if you decide to do just a half dose of Great Big Roses and a half dose of your fertilizer, half dose of Great Big Roses and your full strength of fertilizer. we're really striving for the efficiency and just helping people know it's like you don't have to use that much and you can get better results.
Your product's organic, right?
Yes.
Not tested on animals.
Nope.
Excellent.
CDFA, registered organic input material by the CDFA and WSDA. So that's California and Washington, respectively,
Okay.
whose certifications are so rigorous that most other states will automatically certify you if you have those certifications.
Before we move on to the other products, I'm going to ask you a quick question about, can it be used as a foliar?
Our ancient liquid humate?
The Great Big Roses.
Great Big Roses, we do not suggest as a foliar or anything like that. The only foliar that we have is going to be our ancient liquid humate, and that's going to be applied at a much lower rate than our soil application. And also, when using our humic acid for foliar treatments, you're going to want to start as soon as flowering starts, so that none of your fruits or vegetables or anything like that could even potentially, you don't want to keep them too wet to attract spores or anything like that. So we suggest once flowering starts, you stop your foliar treatments. And all of that information and instructions are on our website under the ease of use and how to use section for the product of ancient liquid humate.
I haven't tried it yet.
I'm excited for you to try it.
I can't
It's one of
wait.
our humic acid is probably my favorite product that we have, because humic acid is just amazing.
So if somebody were to use that product, are they going to expect the same kind of results? Basal breaks, growth, overall health of the plant?
I can't speak to basal breaks. I can speak to soil health, obviously, as I always do, because that's our main focus, is plant health through soil health. Humic acid is not actually just one single thing. Humic acids are a group of organic acids that each work in a specific way. So two of the things that they do that are so fantastic is humic acids have one of the effects of increasing the permeability of the root zone membrane. The process by which your nutrients can go in and out is much easier to get through that root zone. And on top of that, it increases what's known as a cation exchange site.
Yes.
And those are the sites where the nutrients are actually transferred in between, your soils, your microbes into your plant. And so with an increase of cation exchange sites and an increase in permeability, your plant's natural ability to absorb whatever it needs is facilitated immensely.
Your plant will thank you.
Oh, exactly. It's as I've always said, make your neighbors stop and smell your roses.
Well, and I've shared with everybody that my husband hates fish fertilizer. I still have a little bit left from last year, and he's like, "Can I please just throw it away?" And I'm so cheap. I'm like, "Just let me finish using it." And he's like, the Great Big Roses does not smell. Why are you still trying to finish this stupid bottle? But I'm cheap. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's a GART. You spent money on it.
Right?
It's not like it doesn't work.
It's just terrible.
It's just smelly and attracts animals.
Yeah, right. How long is the shelf life? Is there a shelf life to all of the different products, or are they all basically one season? What do you recommend for all of them?
Okay, so for our compost extracts, like our Great Big Roses and Great Big Tomatoes, if you keep them, which most people do, in a shaded, mostly cool area, not next to a window that's going to get hot all the time, you can expect a microbial shelf life of about 2 years. Okay. That the microbes in that bottle will stay in suspension in stasis due to a proprietary method that we use. We can keep them in stasis. After that 2 years, you're going to get a lot of microbe dropout. However, you can still use the product because the remaining ingredients are still all viable. And as well, those dead microbes can serve as food for other microbes that might already exist in there. So 2 months for the intense microbial activity, or 2 years, excuse me, 2 years. 2 years for the microbial activity. And after that, I would say maybe a year.
Okay.
Otherwise, just I know this is me being part of the company, but just buy another one.
Yeah, sure. Why not? But then you've got people like me. I will use every last drop.
That's
It doesn't
right.
matter if it's expired. I'm going to use it.
And that's right. Like I said,
Yeah.
the only way I could think that might give you a little bit of pause after a while is if it's been in a lot of heat, if there's any bulging in the bottle,
Okay.
like most things that you
Sure.
might use or consume. Bulging's usually bad. If it gets really hot, it's not great. If you open it and it smells,
Okay.
I'm gonna say probably best not to use that, because there should never be a smell other than kind of an earthy tone to our
Yeah.
products.
Okay. So tell me, now we've talked a lot about what I am familiar with. I've just used the Darn Good organic fertilizer and the pot. Super excited to check in and see how they are going to be doing. And that if you missed that video, that Darn Good fertilizer you're going to use every other month. And it's kind of like a sandy consistency. You're going to
Yes.
scratch it into the top of the pot and then put in whatever your other product is. And I'm using Rose Tone. And then the Darn Good you'll use every other month. And so on the alternate month, down on those pots, I'm going to do the Great Big Roses and the Rose Tone. So is there anything else that we don't know about the Darn Good product that you want to share with us?
It's not just straight NPK and all that. We have the kelp that will help feed the microbes. We've got shrimp shell meal, which helps with chitin, which is very important to plants. And then the endomycorrhizae, like I said, is kind of those spores that can help you build that soil internet that helps your plants communicate with each other.
I did a collaboration with my sister-in-law, who doesn't garden at all. And she did an unboxing for roses. And it was really funny when she started looking at the root system on the rose. And she said, look, this is how they communicate with each other in the soil. And I just kind of sat there for a second and I thought, is that right? But sure enough, when I did research, plants do talk to each other through the root system. And so I find that fascinating.
Interestingly enough, some of your viewers who are rosarians might know this, but if you don't, plants also can tell who their siblings are. So whether or not they came from the same plant. And if you have two siblings next to one that's not their sibling, same plant, those two will help each other grow and share nutrients more than they will with the one that's not part of their brood.
That is really fun. I plant in threes. And so I love this idea that they're actually talking to each other and helping each other. Of course, I do have beds where they're onesie twosie all along the way,
Sure.
but maybe that will just encourage me to buy more of the same roses next to each other.
That'll do it. And then also, that's kind of what that mycorrhizae, that fungal network, can help overcome, is that stinginess between siblings, because the fungi doesn't care. They're just like,
very cool.
If you all live, we all live. So everybody eats. This is one of my favorite things, and it's also why it pairs so well with our composts and our microbes. I've mentioned several times today that humic acid changes the physical structure of your soil. Mm-hmm. So it does that in a couple ways. The most important is that it helps produce enzymes that form what are called soil aggregates in your soil. And that's kind of when it's glued pieces together so that there's a column here and there, it's just, they're glued there. And what's important about that is it helps increase airflow like perlite might, because they're just there. It helps direct the roots and have spaces for them to crawl through. It increases your water retention, and it helps stop nutrient leaching, because those aggregates are generally a little porous, so they can absorb the nutrients. And the porosity, which is why I love the aggregation so much, also serves as housing for your beneficial microbes to quote unquote hide in when they need to. When environmental factors get a little too hot or too cold, they can seek refuge in those aggregates that this humic acid enzyme has created, so that your microbes have a much longer standing life and a better chance to survive. So increased airflow, increased water retention, decreased surface cracking is another great thing for people with larger
Very
beds
dry.
like, larger beds like that. In fact, some of our industrial users spray it across their fields in order to reduce the dust that blows around because of the aggregates that it creates. It holds them down.
So when I think about adding a little bit, improving the soil structure and aeration, I'm thinking about that clay soil that I have. And the only thing that stops me is when you say it allows it to hold on to water, because I already hold on to so much water because of the clay. And so is it something that I should still try? Because I do have some areas in the yard that are notorious. I know that if I plant a tree, it's going to struggle because there's so much water, a good 18 inches down or so. So is it worth trying that to improve the soil?
Another incredible thing about humic acid is that using it in really clay laden soil will help break down that clay.
Okay.
The humic acid itself, just in its nature, works to break it apart. But on top of that, due to the shape of some humic acids, somewhat like a bear claw, you can imagine like this.
Yeah.
It'll go down to the clay particles and it will chelate minerals. So it'll take a nitrogen into here, it'll grab something here, phosphorus, and then that'll go to the cation exchange site and go up. So it will take all of the nutrients that are bound in your clay, deliver them to the plant, while also through that soil breakdown and aggregate buildup, break that clay down into a place where both I say water retention, it's really optimal water retention so that it flows and it stays there when it needs to, and it can escape. Because yes, if it's going to be clay underneath and that water is going to form a water table, then you can worry about root rot or something like that. This is going to be something that you'll be very interested in, and humic acid is also excellent for trees and tree roots for that very reason.
Okay, well, I plan on a project, everybody. I'm planning on doing that here because I definitely have some areas that I'm looking to improve.
And the ancient liquid humate is every 2-month treatment.
Okay. I like when it's not every month. Here's a question for you.
Okay.
Can grape egg roses be used as a substitute for traditional compost like black cow? And can they use it on their container roses using only standard potting mix and watering with the grape egg roses?
So it absolutely can. We did touch on the fact that the differences really between our compost extracts and a regular compost is what's there physically. It comes in a bag. There's something that can build up your soil. There's medium for you to plant in.
Yes.
That's missing. I've looked at black cow. I believe that their NPK is 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. So in terms of your NPK differences, you're not going to be seeing too much. We've been trying to move away from strictly manure and that kind of thing. We're certified technically as being manure free at this point because of all the processing that we do. But you can absolutely, especially if you're very confident in your potting mix and you know what your NPK needs are for the plant that you put in it and what it is. There's going to be some that are going to be potting mixes like 4 to 3, and that's probably not going to be enough with just our stuff. You're going to want to make sure that you've got what your plant needs, and then if you do that and you feel like you're running behind on some nutrients, add some darn good fertilizer. Or really you can try a little bit of what you've been used to. I believe this is Corey.
Yes.
Hello, Corey. If you're feeling any doubts to begin with, you can maybe reduce it by half. Like I usually suggest, whatever it's going on, fertilizer, compost, reduce it by half, and then start adding our stuff. And then you can sort of level it out depending on your needs and your soil's needs, because that's what we're trying to build a solid foundation for your garden. And I haven't been to your garden. So we gotta, there's gonna be trial and error, and let us know what the results are.
Before we get to the next question, you said, I haven't been to your garden. I'm wondering, do you have a place on your website where we can post pictures, or they can send them to you to post? So in the event that Corey is having great success and wants to share it with you, can people send it to you?
Absolutely. They can send photos to either our email address at info@greatbigplants.com, my email address, which is just Spenser@greatbigplants.com.
Okay.
Also, we're on Instagram as Great Big Plants, and
Okay, they can tag you.
they can tag me. I'm desperate for it. We're always trying to get people to send us pictures of their gardens.
These geeks are going to be contacting you.
Oh, I'm excited about it. I've been waiting for the Rosarians, the Rose Geeks to start pouring. I remember I sent you that review that was on Amazon that was like, "Hello, Rose Geeks." I have a question here about wondering the NPK and whether it contains micronutrients. For our Great Big Roses, our NPK is going to be a 0.040 and then 0.4. So very low on the NPK, which is why we suggest the Darn Good Fertilizer or whatever else that you're comfortable using.
When you talk about the low numbers that are on the Great Big Roses, I think the focus is, it gives it just a little bit, but its focus is really more on that nutrient uptake and helping. Right.
So it's like the bit that's in there for those is to kind of give those microbes the kickstart, and not quite instructions or blueprint, but they've got something to start building off of, even in the worst of soils. If that was for our ancient liquid humate, our NPK is going to be 0.002.
All right, so Cole and Rawl will say, what are the ingredients or components? I know you said some of them are proprietary. We want to know how much humic acid is in it, but what can you share with us?
Okay, so when it comes to our Great Big Roses and our Great Big Tomatoes, we've got 1.5% humic acid, and that's by the CDFA standard of measurement, which again is typically regarded as the go-to. Our ancient liquid humate has a guaranteed 6% humic acid by CDFA standards, and at a pH of around 8, it's incredible that we've been able to do that while maintaining the humic acid in solution, because usually at that high of a pH, it'll fall out of solution. So by doing that, it allows it to be a pH buffer and not terribly swing your water's pH one way or another, or if you're using it in conjunction with something, it'll help protect it from getting too acidic or too basic. I believe that was another one of the questions, actually. It's going to be slightly alkaline, so while it might change your pH a little bit, it's closer to basic than it is to anything else. So the organic materials in our humic acid products and in our compost increase the microbial activity in the rhizosphere, which then helps cycle the nitrogen more efficiently, which helps create a more ammoniacal, basically acidic and ammoniaful soil zone, which roots typically tend to thrive better in.
How soon after planting bare root roses can I use this? And I'll tag in on that one, that I typically start my fertilization for the season as soon as they start pushing their leaves. So when you receive a bare root, it's going to be sleepy still. And for me, there's probably no harm in giving it the fertilizer, but you're kind of wasting your money because it's asleep. It's not going to be uptaking the nutrients. So I would wait until they start pushing the leaves and then start your monthly fertilization program. In the event that it is a potted rose, it has its leaves, so you can start using it right away. And I have not tried the drench. I want to try that. Especially, I really wish I had done it recently because I received some roses that really were not looking too hot, but I forgot. So I promise everybody that I will try a drench and tell you how it works.
That was going to be my only interjection as far as bare root roses or anything, is if you have not had great success with your bare root roses in your current soil, then doing a root drench and then pouring some of that around the outsides of the hole that you plan on planting it in might just help reduce that transplant shock and that movement enough for it to get a standing, you know what I mean? Because sometimes the shock is just too much.
So on bare roots, we would soak them in water for 24 hours. Mm-hmm. Do you think that 24 hours in a drench of, if it would be a water solution, or do you want to do something short, like maybe at the end of the soaking period when it's already uptaking water, give it a half hour or something?
Oh, really not even that. When it comes to if it's a root ball that has soil in it or bare roots, when it comes to a drench in our compost solutions, you really just want to have it in there long enough for either the entire root ball to get soaked or for all of the roots to get drenched. It's really kind of a a candy, you're coating the apple in caramel real quick, and then you're putting it in there. All right. It's and again, unless there's a root ball, in which case you're going to need a little bit of time for that to really soak in to all the soil that it's clutching onto still. Okay. But yeah, no, it's a quick second. It's a quick thing just to give them a taste around the roots. Then you pour it around the hole so that the dirt that touches the roots contains the same microbes that's already on the roots, and that way they're not shocked.
Let's see. How do you recommend timing the use of Great Big Roses with the granular fertilizer? Do you use them together at the same time, or should you stagger them? So I'll answer that. With the Great Big Roses, what I'm doing is I'm doing them at the same time, because there's just, I guess you want it to start taking up those nutrients that are available immediately from the granular, because the granular is going to soak down. Mm-hmm. And so in the event that you were to wait a week or two, spacing it apart, you could have runoff from the water. It would leach out. And so you just want to grab it while it's there.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
I would agree with that completely.
Good. How did they decide to develop this product? We didn't talk about history, so tell us about this. Has this been used or recommended for pots? We've talked about that, and I did a video. Annie, I hope you'll check that out so you can see the pots on our pier, but tell us the history of the product.
Oh gosh, well,
and I guess we'll focus on Great Big Roses. Tell us about that one.
Okay, history of Great Big Roses. My goodness, I wish my father was here. Right. So he could, it's been going on since longer than I was alive. Not Great Big Roses itself. This is our company has gone through several iterations. There was a point in which, the name Guano Plus was around. Farmer Secret. So we've been in development for quite some time, trying to get our organic and industrial level stuff that these farmers use to the consumer, but we were having a hard time getting it in front of them and getting them enticed. And I believe it might have either been my mother or one of their friends who just suggested the simple name Great Big Plants, Great Big Roses.
And that did it.
And that we were like, you know what? That's really been kind of our philosophy in most businesses, just like tell them exactly what we're giving them, tell them what they're going to get. And so once we had, our flagship, the original Great Big Plants product, we realized, well, there's different microbes and different things that certain plants respond to better than others. But our focus was that we were providing such high quality organic products to industrial agriculture that we realized we have the scale to also provide that same strength to the home gardener and give them the peace of mind of an organic product.
So let's go with a couple more questions.
Okay.
You said that it can be mixed with anything. So my one friend has here, Tanya, can we put it with fish, seaweed, more bloom, anything that we can get our hands on? If it's organic, it works. Is that right?
Pretty much the only thing that I say is if you're going to be mixing them into the same container to be pouring them all at once, you're always going to want to dilute your great big product before you add anything to it. We typically do not recommend mixing concentrates because there's certain aspects of them that can just cause the other one to either maybe congeal or fall out of solution. So while they'll work together in the soil, they don't always combine together in your watering can so well.
So if I had my concentrated solution of my great big roses and my concentrated solution of fish, don't put them together first in the container before adding the water because they won't be
Right.
happy. Okay.
Add the water first, then put one of them in, kind of stir it up, get it mixed up, then add the other one in so that both of them are more reacting with the water than with each other. But otherwise, yes, in that case, if you're cautious about it, you will be able to mix them together. And if you're worried about it, just do half of it in at one time and then fill it back up and do the other one.
All right, last thing.
Okay.
Teresa commented here, and this is just a kudos. She says, all I know is that whenever I use this stuff, my roses immediately, excitedly put out new growth and buds. And I hear that.
Oh, Teresa, fantastic. Thank you for that comment. Thank you everyone for your comments and questions. To be honest, I love the engagement. It's fantastic. Until June 30th, if you head to our website, greatbigplants.com, but spring 22 at checkout will give you 20% off of your entire order. And you can also find our products on Amazon. If you're a Prime member, some of those are Prime eligible. I know that the Rose Geek herself has a store. And so if you want to go through her store to purchase our products, that helps both of us out. And that's the ideal way to do that. But again, spring 22, and you can get 20% off for the Rosarians.
I really hope everybody tries that. And for everybody, if you do go to my store, it does help me because I get a very small percentage for letting you guys know the products that I use. It's pennies, but they all add up. So I do appreciate that.
It's a little bit. That's the affiliate program is, it helps everybody out just a little bit, and it costs you consumers nothing. To go through it that way.
Yeah. We will be doing a quart giveaway, so stay tuned for the video that we're going to be doing in the next week, so that hopefully one of you will be able to try the product and have the success that I have had this season. Not only the success that I've had, but so many other rosarians have had from trying great big roses.
Oh, yes.
So thank you so much for joining us and spending this hour with us. I think that you have a lot of valuable information for all of these geeks to really dig into the details. And so I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for asking me to be here. Again, if anybody watching, you can ask me questions on Sunday. And if you have any in the meantime or after that, you can find us at info@greatbigplants.com, send an email, or just me directly, Spenser@greatbigplants.com. And I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and goodbye.
Bye, guys. Thanks so much.